Welcome, everyone. My guest today is Brena Nath, Vice President of Events and Community at HousingWire, to talk about what we have planned for the Housing Economic Summit and why you should care. First, I want to thank our sponsor, Trust and Will, for making this episode possible. Brena, welcome back to the podcast.
I am excited to be here with you. Always nice to chat about some of the things that we're working on.
I know. And, we are the original podcast partners in crime here, so we can't forget that.
The original podcast partners in crime. If someone wants some budgeting tips from Sarah and I have a few of those before the holidays. I think we should just scratch everything that we want to talk about and instead talk about our finances. Do a girl funds episode.
I love it. Well, what I wanted to talk to you about is we are gearing up for the Housing Economic Summit. So we're going to talk about that. But just in general, over the last year, there's been sort of a big sea change. And we've always, we've done events since like 2017, did some great events. But over the last year and a half, we're now becoming known for events. Like people are like, oh, you guys in events, like it's just a big deal. I feel like we're in sort of a different category these days. That's down to you and your team. You guys have done so great. But with that, I really want to dig into, especially on the Housing Economic Summit, there have been some strategic things that you've done as you've been planning this one to make sure that it's, so relevant for the people coming. And it could not come at a better time. I mean, this subject at this time, it's going to be incredible. So let's start from the beginning. Tell us where and when the summit's going to be.
It's going to be in Dallas, Texas on February 10th. I'll share a fun fact here that I know someone's not going to want me to share, but it's on February 10th, which is also our CEO's birthday.
Yes.
I have to get that fact in there, so you can't forget it. So Housing Economic Summit at the George W. Bush Presidential Library on February 10th. We really enjoy this venue because it creates such a good space for learning with the auditorium, but still lends itself to networking when you're at lunch. Easy to get to place. You feel like you want to learn when you're there because it has that academic leaning, but back at the Presidential Library, February 10th in Dallas.
Okay, and we are pretty excited about the lineup of speakers that we have. So for one thing, something that we're excited about is we're going to have Barry Habib and Logan Motoshami on the same stage. They're going to give their own economic talks, but then we're going to get them together. We're going to have a Q&A. I think that's going to be really fun.
Really fun and just insightful. I put in a message earlier that there is something really important in making sure that people know you can have a two-way conversation with us, whether that's, responding back to emails and letting me know the topics that you want to hear throughout the day, but also creating space for that within the event. We haven't historically been able to open up for Q&A due to the way it flowed, but really wanted to make sure we had that opportunity at the Housing Economic Summit. This is specifically set up in February because we know everyone's looking at what's going on for the year. And there's a lot that you can't necessarily forecast. We really are trying to create kind of what can you do to, I'm going to butcher the saying, but that idea of like teach a man to fish. Can I teach you to learn for the signals that you're supposed to be looking for? And then also ask those questions to Barry Habib and Logan Motoshami at the end, and then ask me anything on the housing market at the end to figure out, okay, I know you said this, but is this how I should think about interest rates? How much should I lean into this kind of idea of what's going on in the Fed? And letting you kind of pull additional levers that you need to know with both of them. When I tell you, everyone here listens to Logan a lot on the podcast, so I don't need to clarify just how good he is at kind of addressing and being able to answer what you need to know to do what I just said, give you the signal.
I love that. So when we were talking about what we should, sort of the theme of this one, or like, what's the overall thing that we're keeping in our mind as we do all of the planning, as you do all the planning, and that getting the signal from the noise was the thing that really stood out from what we were hearing from our audience. And also just like the time we're in, right? We have a ton of data. There's a whole bunch of data out there. So it's like, okay, but the point is not like, here's a bunch of data. The point is, what do you need to take from the data to make your business better, successful, growing, making decisions faster? Like that's sort of the North Star when we think about how we organize events.
Yeah. It's another way to phrase that I've been really leaning on lately is taking things from data to decisions. That through line between the two. Data is a theme in this conference. It's not just about forecasts, but it's about the data that you're going to glean from it. And then I try to, we as a team really think about, we don't want you just to come into this room and get this information at any of our conference. We're really trying to craft, whether that's through networking opportunities, getting to put your name in a room with other like-minded peers, and ensuring that you always have an answer to that question of like, what do I get out of attending? Like, what should I be taking away? How do I apply? How does this grow my business? How does this grow my margins? We're very aware of what's going on in this space. And so for the Housing Economic Summit specifically, it's knowing here's the data and hearing the knowledge-based sessions. Sarah already mentioned Barry Habib, Logan Motoshami. We also have Jessica Lautz. She's the Deputy Chief Economist at the National Association of Realtors. We have Lisa Studervant, who's with Bright MLS. We have Odetta Cushy, who's with First American. We have these amazing economists coming on stage, ensuring that you kind of get this very good overview about what to expect in the market in 2026. And we're calling these our knowledge-based sessions. Then after those, we don't want you to end the discussion there. We want to turn them into tactical applications of how do you use this data to make smarter, faster decisions. And to help you facilitate that kind of game plan after the event, we have tactical leaders on stage. So we have Joe Panabianco. If anyone is paying attention to what Annie Mac is doing, they're a growth grower right now, not to be redundant in that phrase, but Annie Mac is someone that we've heard from our audience that they want to hear on stage. What is some of the playbook you're doing? He is a great data-driven leader who, I mean, I was talking to him the other day as we were kind of working on some quotes for the event, and he mentioned it's not that the importance of data is new. It's that people have never been paying attention to it. And now is the time that they need to be looking at it because they're realizing the cost of not paying attention to it. You no longer have a choice not to look at the data. And that's, I think, the importance of what our audience needs to see, that the people who are growing aren't just growing. Joe Panabanco is constantly looking at what's happening into the market so he can see what he needs to do as a business leader to go forward. And we're seeing that in other people we have on stage. We also have Nora. I might mispronounce her last name a little bit, but Nora Guerra. She's the Senior Vice President of Community Lending Solutions at Guild Mortgage. She's another example. We were talking to industry leaders in this space for who are other data-driven leaders, and her name came up as someone who is using the data to grow business and community lending and knowing what is needed to serve that market. And so those are just two mortgage examples of what people are doing to not just hear the forecast. It's not enough. We don't want you to just come in and be like, okay, cool, that's what's happening. No, it's you get the knowledge-based sessions and think this is what I need to do to apply it. This is how I create tactical implementation from what I'm hearing to stay resilient. You and I talked a lot about resilience in this market. That's a huge word, and agile in 2026.
Love that you brought up the tactical sessions, because this was one of the pivots that you made this year, to just go, okay, while that's always part of what we're thinking about, for this one specifically, you're like, we're making it very overt. We're like, here's information, here's someone who we see applying it. And I think we have a real advantage there as a media company because we know who's doing what. We're writing up like who's making money, what they're doing, the moves they're making. It can be obvious to us first before other people. And we're talking to leaders all the time. So we're like, this is what they want to know. This is who they're thinking they want to know more from. So I love that as you look at speaker selection too. It's a long process.
It's a long process. And just to, answer a question that I feel passionate about, which is along the lines of like, how do I set myself up for success if I'm attending this event? Like, I want to ensure that you're sitting in that seat and you're capitalizing what you need. And that playbook that I hope everyone kind of takes into account is the first session of the day. I just mentioned Nora. The other person that we have on stage is Dan Duffy. He's the founder and CEO at United Real Estate Group. They're a top, according to the Real Trends Verified list, they're a top ranked brokerage. And Dan is just like Joe Panabianco on the mortgage side. He's just like Nora on the mortgage side. He is a data-driven leader and, cutting through a lot of noise with those signals that he needs. And so we start the day off with Dan, with Nora saying, okay, before you go into the days, because right after their session is Logan's session and Barry Habib's session. So before we get into that, let me tell you what lens you need to be looking at each session throughout the day. Here, take your notebook out, take your pen, write these things down for how I'm taking this data and applying it. Because I don't want this to just be talk. I want it to be, okay, I see what they're saying on stage. This is how leaders of growth are doing it. And so the first session kicks that off. Clayton Collins, our CEO, is moderating it to ensure that he's a business leader too, has to take those angles into account. So he kind of sets up that playbook, kind of giving you in some ways like this formula that you need to think through for each session. And then we go into the day with our forecasts, our knowledge-based sessions. And then within those, we'll have more tactical-based sessions. Joe's session will come into play. We have more real estate leaders joining us on stage. We have a session from the capital markets angle at lenders, how they're approaching the industry, but gives you this playbook to run with. And so that's how you can set yourself up for success when you attend, that you clearly have this like business hat on when attending, along with the educational mindset.
I think that is incredible. And you brought up a point that bears repeating, and that is, you're talking about mortgage and real estate. So maybe talk about who this conference is geared toward and who you're seeing sign up. Like who's coming.
Yeah. Thanks for asking that. It's a big, I want to make sure people know that this event is built for mortgage and real estate leaders. Anyone who's looking at mapping out their business for 2026 and beyond and wants to stay agile and resilient as an operationals leader, as a business leader, someone who's maybe in the capital market space as well. Like, how do you do that? This event is built for you. So on the real estate side, I already mentioned Dan Duffy, but you also have NAR's Jessica Laut. She is in the pulse on what's happening. She had a data fact the other day that floored me, Sarah. I'm sure you've seen this now, but the fact that the average age of a first-time home buyer right now is 40 years old. That is still millennial, I will say. Somebody who's a millennial. So
it used to seem a lot older to you than it does now. Let's just be honest, okay?
It's still the millennial demographic. So in the past, when you and I have been here for over 13 years, roughly 13 years. So that data point was more vast then. But just that says something, that it's someone in their 40s now who is buying their first home. And that data point, I think when you talk about the knowledge-based sessions that you want to have, I think Logan, Motoshami, and Barry Habib are great, but don't forget about the knowledge that Jessica's going to share on stage, because the data that NAR has, going back to data on what does the first-time home buyer profile look like, who is moving right now, that's all pieces of the, puzzle that you need as you're planning for 2026. And Jessica has that. But yeah, I had to share that stat. It stopped me in my tracks as I look at my friends who I know are still trying to buy homes. And it's kind of just like, I want our industry to know this so we can help fix this. Affordable housing is another topic that's in the agenda. It's addressing stuff like this. How did that age get so high?
Absolutely. I think there's a big benefit too in bringing everyone together on one day, because at every conference almost there is an economics session. And this is the only conference that I'm aware of in our space where the whole day is economics. And why is that? Because it's at the moment that we're in, and there's some very specific things about this market, but also there's just, things are changing fast. And now with data and AI and things are moving at a speed where you need data, you need understanding, and you need to know how to plan for next more than ever before.
Just to give people some behind the scenes on the curtain, one thing that, you and I were chatting about when we were talking about the marketing of this event and how to position we're not trying to say we have all the answers. These are forecasts. Forecasts have changed. I mean, Logan says that all the time. And as he looks at the indicators, when he looks at the year ahead. And that's what I would say in this event. The value you get from being in that room is because it's not just, there's so much value in reading the news and the articles, but you also need to hear this in-person narrative on how you shift with it and what are the flags and these indicators that you need to be looking for. And that's the value of we know we can't say this is exactly where interest rates are going to go. And we know for a fact, but we can give you what you need to be resilient.
Who do you see signing up? Are they generally they're at, are they CFOs, CEOs? Yeah. Are they more like branch managers? Are they loan officers? Who is it?
This event, I would say, has the widest range due to the nature of it, since it's such an educational focused conference, but still has that application standpoint. It tends to be people in the operations lane, people in the financial lane, people who are at the C-suite who want to know what's going along with your branch managers and your top performers who are in this space. It's anyone, it should be in my head, the people who are in this industry trying to grow their business in 2026. And you have a role role in the strategy and decision-making process of whether it's your branch, in your financial strategy, in your capital market strategy. But there's sessions and that's why the knowledge-based sessions are so important with Barry and Logan and Jessica, because all of those to apply to. And maybe you don't need as much what's happening in DC. But what's powerful about the way the lineup is you don't necessarily want to leave, because we make sure we get to the meat of a discussion. Our sessions are faster, so you stay engaged, you stay dynamic, and then maybe the next one's for you. But there's enough there for those types of roles where you're still getting something out of the conference through those big keynotes, along with the tactical ones that apply to you.
It goes back to your data for decisions, right? Like these are decision makers on a lot of different levels. And I think that makes sense for this conference. Super excited. Well, I don't want to throw too much at you, but I did want to just do a little preview of the gathering as well, because that's coming up. That's back in April this year. So we need to, and we've already had huge interest in that as we knew we would. So maybe talk a little bit about the gathering.
It is right around the corner. I was just scheduling something with someone for January last week or yesterday. And I was like, how are we already scheduling for January? And so that means the gathering is right around the corner. I'll repeat that time frame that Sarah just said. It's April 27th through 30th in Austin, Texas. We're going to be back at the Omni Barton Creek in Austin. I really enjoy this venue. It lends itself to amazing networking opportunities. And I know not everyone's like me, but what's also fun about them is they have cycle classes. So you can get your fitness. This industry, I have noticed, is an early bird, go on a run industry. They have a course that you can run. So get kind of, your networking, your activities in. We had, if you wanted to sidebar my sidebar, if you want to talk about how to maximize conferences, we know at all of our conferences, you want to know what's going on in technology along with what's going on in the space. I knew a leader last year who did all of her walk-in talks with her tech partners as a walk-in talk. And so that's how she got her steps in. And I just love that idea for still getting physical movement in the beautiful Colorado, talking with all of your tech partners, but just kind of doing multiple things at once, which I love habit hacking. And so we're going to be at the Omni Barton Creek this year. I just had McKenna Clay, who's our events manager, kind of run the numbers. And this event really is 50% mortgage, 50% real estate on who we have attending. We already have over 300 people registered for this event. This event will sell out. We hit capacity last year. We know that's going to happen again this year. And it is that ecosystem. We want the content, community, and commerce in one place. And so they're all gathering together in Austin, Texas in April.
And let's just say, so the last time we were at Barton Creek, it was a great conference. It was great. It was very hot. So this April in Texas is actually very nice. So wherever you're coming from, it's going to be nice weather. We will actually be able to get out and do those walk-in talks in April, because once we get into the summer, it's tough here in Texas. Yes.
Pickleball will be much better this year. I'm sure we'll have to, I think last year everyone just kept playing pickleball after the competition, because we have turned into quite the pickleball industry. And then we'll also have golf as well, along with our classic wine tasting and other opportunities. But a lot of room to enjoy the outdoor weather this year, since April is much nicer in Texas.
Well, Brena, thank you so much for being on. I am excited, as always, for our events. We love meeting people. We always have a good number of our, not just the executive team, but also the production team and my editorial staff. So it's a great opportunity as well to meet our reporters, our editors, our executives, and as well as all the amazing people in the industry that people want to connect with.
Yeah, Sarah, you get stopped a lot. Your voice is known. So come meet Sarah Wheeler, our amazing podcast host, in person as well.
I love to meet people. Thank you so much, and we will talk again soon.
Thanks, Sarah.